Hey Eurovision fans, it's Tom coming to you from Dublin and back for another Eurovision analysis video. It's been 3 weeks since my last Eurovision scoreboard update. Since then, all the pre-parties have happened. I'm going to tell you who were the climbers, who were the fallers, and who's got momentum going into Eurovision in Liverpool. So let's kiki. So if you aren't familiar with Eurovision Scoreboard, it is a fan app where you can pick your top 10 Eurovision songs and then they're all added together into a scoreboard list of rankings. I'm not sponsored by them. You can vote for your own country. There are a couple of flaws with it in terms of looking at it data-wise. I think it's still interesting to see what are some of the changes since the pre-parties have happened. There actually have been some pretty big changes and what songs are gaining momentum as we're only 3 weeks away from Eurovision happening. Okay, so at the time that I took this data, there were 41,137 people voting on the app. Almost 7,000 times, not 7,000 times, that's almost 7,000 people more than last time. So obviously a lot of new people coming in, all with new points. So every single country gained points, luckily. It would have been pretty bad if 7,000 new people joined and nobody got any new points. Yes, everyone made gains. What I'm going to be looking at is who made the most gains and also who gained or lost a disproportionately large amount of points. Okay, so first of all, let's just look at points change. This is the sheer quantity of points that a country gained since my last update. So these are the top 10 gainers since my last video. You can see it's mostly made up of top 10 countries. You may notice there's one top 10 country missing, and that is Czechia. They were actually in 17th place in regards to how many points were gained in that time period. Previously, they were 5th in the rankings, and because they gained so much fewer points compared to everyone around them, they've actually moved down to 7th. France and Spain have both overtaken them. I think this is partly due to the fact that the Czech song was so long ago. It was super hyped when it was released, but that was in late January. So the hype and the buzz around this has kind of died down a little bit. I know me personally, I've listened to this song a lot, but it's not as fresh as some of the newer songs. Also the pre-party performances, I think a lot of people were kind of disappointed. Compared to the very sharp, confident visuals that were in the music video, the live performance didn't bring the same quality. So yeah, I can see why people are dipping on this a little bit, but like at the end of the day, I still think they've benefited a lot from doing the pre-parties. I felt like they were improving with all the pre-party shows. They've been able to look back and say, okay, what do we need to work on? Better to find out that you have a problem with your kind of confidence and your on-stage presence now rather than finding out during rehearsals and it's way too late to do anything about it and then you start panicking. So this is why pre-parties can be really, really good for getting that necessary information before the show happens. So first place in this was Finland. They gained around 40,000 points. And then in third place, the third biggest gainer was Sweden. So Käärijä gaining 7,000 points on Loreen. She previously had a 35,000 point lead over him. Now it's only 28,000. I'm going to speak about that a little bit later. Okay, quickly looking at the bottom 5. So these are the countries that gained the fewest 5 points. Most of them were countries who are already in the bottom. But one person to note there, I think, would be Iceland. Despite being 26th on the scoreboard, she was 33rd in terms of points gained. Not too sure why that is. She did go to a couple of pre-parties. I don't think maybe there's a lot of buzz about this right now. I definitely think that the Icelandic delegation needs to be going for some really big staging. I hope that when I see the rehearsal in Liverpool, there's going to be something quite shocking or beautiful or really thoughtful in this staging that kind of like gives it just an extra layer, elevates it a little bit. I think the song really, really needs it to make it out of semi-final number 2. Okay, let's look at the next column now. This one looks at what percentage of the pie does each country own. So if I had 10% of the pie before and now I have 9%, I've lost 1% of the pie. So you can either gain or lose the pie depending. Let's first look at the 3 biggest losers. So the biggest loser by far is Czechia, again, losing 0.74% of the total size of the pie. Second biggest loser was Sweden. So she went from having 11.75% of all the points to having 11.18. Now, interestingly, Käärijä pretty much broke even. He had 0.02. So what that means now is that Loreen's lead over Käärijä is 1.17% of the total points. So basically, she's lost half of her lead that she had over Käärijä when she joined the Eurovision scoreboard. You're going to see in a second when I show you who gained the points, who I think stole these points off, well, didn't steal the points off her, who lured these points away from Loreen. But first, let's talk about the third biggest loser, and that was Norway. She lost 0.27%. Again, I think it's a song that's been out for a while. Also, some slight vocal issues in the pre-party. I think she's saving her voice personally, but yeah, it didn't sound fantastic. And just, I felt other performances probably surprised and elevated, whereas her performance felt a little bit weaker than the Melodi Grand Prix performance. So I think that's why she went down a little bit. Okay, let's look at the top level. So now all those people have lost points. That means that someone else has gained them. Those points haven't just evaporated. So let's look at the top 10, and we're gonna start with place number 4 because there's quite a big difference between the top 4 and the rest of the top 10. So we're gonna see 5th to 10th, and you can see this is exclusively countries who are in the pre-party. So this pre-party has built up a little bit of hype. More people are seeing the songs live and they're falling in love with them, and they're starting to rank those songs higher. And as an effect, people like Loreen and Alessandra and Vesna are falling down. But let's look at who the 4 biggest gainers were. So in 4th place, gaining 0.33 was Spain. So yeah, she's been really great in the pre-parties, doing different versions as she's been in different places. Really excited to see what this final staging is going to be like. I also think this song does benefit from repeat listens to kind of sink in a little bit more, so obviously being heard more is going to help people appreciate it. Okay, in 3rd we have Armenia, who gained 0.34%. Again, I think people were quite surprised by how good her pre-party performances were. I was expecting her to be a little bit shaky, possibly a little bit nervous, but yeah, she really did well. So she's really gained a lot. 2nd biggest gainer of the total point percentage was France with 0.35. Now, I thought that she had a decent performance in Madrid. A lot of acoustic problems, a lot of people couldn't hear themselves. She was a little bit shaky at the start. She took her earpiece out. I thought her a cappella sing back with the crowd at the end was pretty good. She didn't perform in London or Eurovision in concert. A little bit of controversy going on there. It appears there's a small amount of feuding with her and the French delegation, which I'm hoping they can sort out between now and then. Yeah, they need to sort that drama out. But yeah, she's still one of the biggest gainers. You know, as I said earlier, Czechia moving down means that she's moved up to 5th place now. Spain's moved up into 6th. So she's got really great momentum right now. The Euro jury, which is a fan-based mock jury vote, has just happened, and she's currently 2nd in that. So I think there's good reason to believe that she's going to do really well with the jury in Eurovision, and definitely will be nipping into Loreen's jury points. So France is definitely one to watch. But 1st place in terms of percentage of points gained was Austria. So they gained 0.38. Again, just really solid pre-party performances. I think a lot of people were nervous after last year what happened with Halo, where she wasn't able to sing the song. These girls really much better vocally, much better confidence. We got to see a couple of visuals that really worked. They were really good at working the crowd. Yeah, just I think people were a lot more reassured, falling in love with the song as they're hearing it more and more. So an interesting thing to note about these top 4 songs is they're all ladies. We have these 4 female acts who are benefiting from this points gain, and that's why I think it's relevant when we look back down at the bottom of the table. Vesna and Loreen and Alessandra, again, 3 female pop acts are the biggest losers right now. So I think what's happened is there is this overlap in the female pop genre, which we know exists within the Eurovision community. People are shifting allegiances, and this brings up one of the key things for me that Eurovision Scoreboard shows so well, which is this competition between songs that are of a similar genre. Alarmingly for Loreen, France and Spain are both automatic qualifiers, so that's not good news, and Austria and Armenia are extremely both likely to qualify as well. So these 4 gaining momentum is definitely not good news for Loreen and her televote, and also a little bit for her jury. I think that Spain and France have the potential to nip into her jury score. Okay, so let's go to the last column. Now this column is looking at how much has my pie changed. So if I had 10% of the vote and it went down to 9%, I have lost 10% of my pie. It doesn't matter what everyone else is happening, it's just about me. Me and my pie. Okay, this is a little bit better for looking at the smaller countries, because obviously smaller countries are going to make smaller gains. Let's look at the top, and unsurprisingly, San Marino at the top here. They had so few points at the start, even though their pie was like teeny tiny to begin with. They increased their percentage of points by 1/4. So some other big gainers: Poland, Ireland, Belgium, and Lithuania, all countries who are doing the pre-parties. Good news for Ireland. They're still 33rd in the rankings, but in terms of their percentage increase, they were ranked 3rd. So that's good news for them, doing all the work that they've done in the pre-parties. A slightly surprising one for me here is Greece in 7th place, despite the fact that he didn't do any pre-parties. So a little bit surprised what this is. Maybe this is people just getting to know the song quite well. Again, a similar effect to San Marino. But for me, the standout one here is Armenia in 6th place. So I already spoke about her before, but you can see she's increased her share of the pie by 10%. So she's really got good momentum right now. I still don't see this as a winner. There's just a few things for me that haven't clicked yet. I know some people are talking about this potentially being a dark horse. I don't really see that yet. Maybe when I see rehearsals, that might be something that's sparked. I still hope that it does well, but I'm not seeing winner potential in it yet. But nice to see that she's got a bit of a momentum now. Okay, now let's go look down the other end and see which country's relative share of the pie decreased the most. And again, Czechia. I think we've established that already. Really, they lost 1/8 of their percentage of the points. Second biggest loser was Netherlands. Now, yeah, look, this had a really frosty reception in Eurovision and concert. The vocals seemed a little bit off. The broadcaster has come out with a statement, which I have to admit wasn't the most supportive. It felt a little bit more like kind of slightly distancing themselves, or kind of like, don't blame us. But yeah, they still have time to work on this. I don't think it's panic stations yet. Look, at the end of the day, how you sound on the pre-parties doesn't really matter. It's a great opportunity to see, are your vocals working and is your performance working, to see what can you work on come actual Eurovision. At the end of the day, if they sing well in actual Eurovision, all the pre-parties don't matter. So look, this isn't a lost cause, but yeah, if they sing like that at Eurovision, it's very unlikely that they'll qualify. But they've got lots of time to work on this. I assume they'll be working on this and nothing else. And then the third biggest loser, I have to admit I was a little bit surprised about this, was Georgia. She lost 7% of what she previously had. Again, this could be similar to Loreen in that some of these people who like the female pop songs have moved over to other people, and she's losing points because of that. You know, Georgia and Armenia came out very similar. I think Armenia came out on the 8th and Georgia on the 9th. So, you know, this kind of new person effect, which I've shown in previous videos, where a new person coming in tends to score high and then dip down. Well, Armenia are one of the biggest gainers, so I don't think that excuse works either. So yeah, this, I'm not sure why it's gone down so much, but it doesn't really seem to have very much hype right now. Not very many people are talking about it. I'm not worried about it. I'm still pretty confident that this is going to qualify. They're going to need a really cool, clever rehearsal to kind of revive that hype. Okay, finally, let's just go through all the ranking changes. So as I mentioned before, Austria with that momentum, they've actually moved up to 3rd in the scoreboard now, overtaking Alessandra, who's moved down into 4th. I already mentioned about Czechia moving down 2 places. Armenia's, that momentum they've gained has moved them up into 10th. So they're in the top 10. They've pushed out Noah Corral from Israel. You know, she hasn't done any of the pre-parties. I think she's a pretty big star. I think on top of that, they're saving everything that they have ready for Eurovision. I think they want to get that big news hype when their first rehearsal drops, that's the big story, because then they'll get that hype momentum going into the final. So I think that's what their plan is right now. I also think she just doesn't want to do pre-parties because she's already quite an established star. So that points drop from Georgia means that Moldova moves up into 14th. Netherlands, their pre-party performances being received badly means they move down into 19th. Latvia moving up into 17th. Supernova Latvia, they are staying strong. They're just continuing to work their way up. I still hold on hope that they will be able to qualify from that semi-final 1 of death. They're actually currently ranked 8th in the countries from semi-final 1 on the scoreboard right now. So that's actually pretty good going. And you know, Netherlands possibly being in a little bit of trouble right now. This is Latvia need to come through with the amazing staging and just seize the opportunity. Okay, Lithuania moving up in 1 place into 25th, Croatia moving up 1 place into 28th, and Poland moving up 1 place into 31st. So Blanca's getting a little bit more love. Okay, so those are the main changes that have happened in the Eurovision scoreboard in the last 3 weeks. If you want to see some more analysis videos, I will leave some of them here. Don't forget to give me a thumbs up, and thanks so much for watching. I'm seeing the other Eurovision analysis video very soon. Goodbye.